I'm Gail Holt, for anybody that might not know me, on the Health Ministry Committee. I am delighted, more than delighted, to introduce to you Cathy Reitz, who is the director of the Stand in the Light Memory Choir. If I gave you Cathy's complete resume, I would be talking for a long time. She is a long-standing force in music in the Chippewa Valley. But for our purposes today, she is the founder, director, and artistic director of the Stand in the Light Memory Choir. And I'm just going to turn it over to her. I'm running technology, so if there's a glitch, I'm sorry. So I will do my best. So, Cathy.
Well, first of all, I just want to say I am delighted that Gail is part of the choir. And basically, I'm just going to talk to you about the choir, and then your job will be to spread the word that we have this choir. Our choir is for people with early to mid stages of memory loss and with speech difficulties, so aphasia or someone who's maybe had a stroke who needs to work on speech. And our mission statement kind of encapsulates everything. It says, Stand in the Light Memory Choir uses the power of singing to move people with memory loss and their caregivers to rediscover themselves, make new friends, laugh together, learn together, and contribute to their community. So we're not only for people who have memory loss or speech difficulties, we're for their care partners also. And we're starting our 6th year. We started in the fall of 2016. And we started because my sister, I had an older sister who had frontal lobe dementia, and she passed away in January of 2016. And I realized we didn't know really anything about memory loss. We did the best we could. We didn't know. She was diagnosed at like 53, passed away at 68. Kind of saw the progression, and so I had become quite interested in it. And then Lisa Wells at the ADRC in Eau Claire cued me into this choir in Minneapolis, and we got started. So this is what we looked like in January 2020. We had a large group, we had lots of fun, concerts in person, and then if you could go, I think, to the home page. And then starting in March 2020 and scroll, oh, there we are, look, we are so pretty. And then if you scroll down a little bit, we turned into this kind of choir. We went virtual. And I gotta say, I fought it because I was not a computer person. But we needed to stay connected because that's the whole purpose of the choir, is to stay connected. So we became a virtual choir. This year on August 19th, we started in-person rehearsals again. We rehearsed outside at Lutheran Church of the Good Shepherd in Eau Claire, and it has been amazing. It's been just delightful. So we're there making music. And you know, music, and we all know this, but I feel obligated to say this, the music has a profound effect on the brain. It just does. And I like to just call it magic. I'm sure you could find scientific studies that explain it all, but to me, it's just that magic. What happens when we talk about music, when we listen to music, when we perform music, happens. And we talk about it in a pretty casual way. And then when people have memory loss and we say, oh my gosh, they could remember every word of the song. And we're like, yeah, because music has this amazing ability to be in all different parts of the brain. So if you start losing one part of the brain, your music memories are stored everywhere in your brain. And they have found out that if you are doing a CAT scan on someone who is singing and remembering a song, like their whole brain lights up because it's pulling from all different places. It probably is what makes us as musicians kind of that, like, we're here, we're there, we're everywhere, and it's also exciting. So there's so many scientific studies, but one of the best ones, and one of the things that I think is great about singing in a choir is that they have found, like when you sing together with people, your collective blood pressure goes down, and your immune system goes up, and your heartbeats actually start synchronizing. And it's if you think about it, it's illogical. If you're working together with something that's very precise and you want to all be together, your body has to get involved. So if we could go to gallery now. So when we started this choir in 2016, we had about 20 people. And we didn't know if it would work. We didn't know if it would really affect people, if anybody cared about it. But then as the years have gone on, okay, you can stop here. So this is a picture of Iva and some of our musicians. And these are quotes. Having the choir keeps me from being depressed, isolated, gives me confidence to do something positive, to know I can keep learning through singing. And if you scroll down a little bit, you can see we have get Easter bonnet time. It's the people and the music the choir makes into something we can do together. There are no judgments at all. And this is the other big thing about our choir is we're all doing it. So when people say to me, oh, isn't that nice? You have a choir for people with memory loss. And I say, no, I have a community choir. And we all bring baggage. Some people just bring the baggage of memory loss. We all bring something to it. So you can see we have families involved. When we went virtual, it was amazing because people from all over the country would Zoom in to rehearsals. And it was so much fun. So yeah, it's just like pulling the plug on your emotions come flowing out. Oh, I get a little clapped when I talk about the choir. Wow. You think after 6 years I'd be over that, but I'm not. So music and memory loss, so important. And it's never too late to do music. The other amazing thing that we think about music is that we know about music is that it continues our whole life. But the thing that we just learned recently, that's a collective we, like I do the scientific studies. But the things that we learned recently is the brain can keep learning music. No matter what's happening, what parts of the brain are failing, you can still keep learning. Your brain wants to keep growing. So if you could play a little bit of, I think go down a little, oh, could we go to, well actually go to Sing Sing Together, that first one right there, yeah. So this is just a little idea of what we sound like when we're inside a church, in a real building. Who you have to do, yes.
Sing, sing together, merrily, merrily sing. Sing, sing together, merrily, merrily sing. Sing, 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 sing. Sing, sing together, merrily, merrily sing. Sing, sing together, merrily, merrily sing. Sing, sing together, merrily, merrily sing. Sing,
So we have a nice little song. We're a choir. We're not second rate. Let me put it that way. So if you could find an Angels of Dementia, I think it's under. I can't remember where we found it. Oh, the promo video. So this next song, and this is something else we do. We really encourage people who, in the choir, all the people in the choir, to share their talents. And we have a wonderful lady named Iva Peck, who has early stages of memory loss, and she writes poetry, and she writes these amazing poems about memory loss and her family and things. And excuse me. So in 2019, local educator and composer and friend of ours, Dennis Luganville, wrote a piece of music for the choir using one of Iva's poems. And again, just so you get an idea of what we're all capable of, if you could play a little bit of this, it's just at the very beginning of this promo here.
We all know a story about angels.
So I'm hoping that as you're listening and watching and seeing pictures, you're thinking, which of these people has memory loss? I can't really tell. Is that strong voice someone with memory loss? Is that person next to the other person someone with memory loss? Because the point of our choir is you shouldn't know. And mostly you don't know when you're watching the choir. And one of the best things people can say when they see a choir is, who had memory loss? Your guess. We don't tell. And we've been asked, like, what's the makeup of our choir? And we always say, it's a third, a third, a third. We have a third of people who probably have some memory loss, something that's a little significant. Then we have a third of caregivers, which can be families or neighbors, siblings, children. And then we have a third of what we call ringer singers, who are singing volunteers, people who just come to share. So when people say, oh, well, who can join your choir? Whoever wants to. I mean, I'm like, come on in. We will have you sing. You might be thinking, well, I know someone who has memory loss. I don't want to sing. That's fine. What we do is when people come and they say, I have memory loss, they are, I don't want to say assigned because that sounds a little clinical, but they are hooked up with a duet partner. So the whole time that we rehearse, they have the same singing partner. And a singing partner and a caregiver, their job is to just make sure everything's going okay. They don't have to teach them the music, they don't have to do anything like that. They just are there to help. And you know, it has shown, again, you can find all kinds of studies, but there's been a study, and many, involving dementia patients and their healthcare workers that showed that when groups singing, when they sing in a group, it just improves their communication skills and their relationships. And if you think about it from a choral standpoint, that's what you have to do in a choir. You have to communicate. You're communicating with music. It was funny, I got a thing in the mail from Security Health, I think it was. And I'm not promoting any health things, but I happened to get a thing from Security Health. And it had ways to improve your mental health. So I stole it from them. And I only had to take one of theirs out. So one of their things was keep your brain active. Of course, music does that. When you're singing in a choir, you are constantly stimulating the brain. Probably all of us in this room sing without even thinking about it. You know, we might be humming a tune, but if you start looking at what you're doing, you're breathing, you're telling your brain, hey, I have to shape this thing here to make the sound that I want to hear here. And if I don't hear this, I'm going to change this. And I have words going, and I have melodies going, and you have all these things happening that are stimulating the brain. The second thing on this list was be mindful, so be present. You cannot make music if you're not present. I'm sure many of you have, well, that's not true because you can, because all of us have been at a concert where you're watching someone and you think, they are not engaged, they're not entertaining me. Now I, from age 4 on, have been the person who's like, can I entertain you? Because I would love to engage you. And sometimes that's a good thing and sometimes it's not a good thing. But you must be present. And sometimes I found, for me, even during this past year and a half, it's real easy to just kind of go off into my own little, you know, I don't really want to engage. I don't want to have to be part of something. But it's so important that we stay that way. Third thing, be physical. We are so physical when we sing. We have to breathe, we have to stand or sit tall and straight. You guys have chairs available because people get very worried. As do I now that I wear like these, you know, and have my cane handy at all times. Everybody, you know, if sitting is what you gotta do, sit. That's all good. But, you know, we are the instrument, and we are the instrument. So breathing, posture, emotions, those are all things that keep you physical. Learn a new hobby. There is no time like the present to join your choir. We have lots of people, especially caregivers, who say, I've never sung in a choir. And I'm like, it's time to start. It's okay. Choir has to be the safest place to be. Stay connected. This is what our choir does. We are connected. When we went virtual, we stopped rehearsals on March 12th, 2020. My big concern on March 12th was we were using kazoos. And oh gosh, I didn't want anyone to catch a cold. So we had, all kazoos were labeled in a labeled bag in a special basket. And little did we know that was the least of our worries on March 12th. When we went virtual in July of 2020, and I'm telling you, they had to take me kicking and screaming. I mean, I gained 30 pounds of brain cells learning all the computer stuff because it was so hard. And so we had our first rehearsal. We're Zooming. I don't know how many of you have been able to Zoom over this time or FaceTime or all that stuff. And I suddenly realized we had husbands and wives who hadn't seen each other because one was in a facility and one was home, and they couldn't see each other. We had families who hadn't seen their parents, and that's what was great. Like we had people, we had this wonderful family. We had a daughter from Duluth, Madison, and I think it was Cincinnati, and one in Eau Claire. All would Zoom in, and the mom, who was in a facility, would her eyes, she knew, she would look. You could see her looking at the screen until she found her kids. She'd wave. It was great. So stay connected. We have such a strong connection that we did have one in-person rehearsal in May, and it happened to be 45 degrees out. And everybody was supposed to stay in their cars, and we were going to use FM to get the rehearsal to them, and I was up there in my purple coat, and no, people got their chairs out, they were wrapped in blankets, and they wanted to be connected. And get involved. Get involved. It's join something, but try to make it the square. The one thing that Security Health, I'll give them credit for this, that they had for staying mentally healthy that we can't do is get a pet. We can't say bring your pet to choir. And the one thing that I add is we're gonna do Mighty Mouse next. So that's Fall Showcase 18. So the other thing that we do is we just really want to bring beauty and joy to the world. Because let's face it, this world could use a little extra beauty and joy. It's got some problems right now. So that's part of our job. We also do lots of laughing. And then go all the way to the bottom. And it'll say, scene here. And this would be Fall Showcase, 18 minutes. And so, I completely forgot where I was going. But every time we sing, we try to create some joy. It's just so important. Can you give me a little idea?
We're just listening for his call. Here I come to save the day. That means that Mighty Mouse is on the way.
We used up kazoos. So every time we sing, we're creating a link to something. And that is the point that I just want to share, is this choir is all about connecting the dots. You know, we're gonna find something that you like, you know, and trust me, a lot of times we'll start a song and sometimes people with memory loss have less filters, and they'll be like, yeah, we don't like this one. That's okay, you don't have to like it, but you are going to sing it. And that's probably the biggest roadblock we have is oftentimes caregivers will say, well, what if they say something? So, what if they don't want to do it? They will. And I, with all heartfelt goodness, I taught middle school choir for many years. And this is like having a 7th grade choir. And because the attention span's kind of, and the humor is hysterical, but the enthusiasm and the love for music is amazing. And so when people say, oh, did you know, how did you learn to do that? Well, I taught middle school for like a million years, so that's what we do. And it's great because we have such a good time that we look forward to people who are going to like give their opinions. When the choir first started, had about 2 rehearsals in, and I have always, as a choir director, when I want people to rest their voices, I talk. And I'm a pretty good talker, you know. So I want them to rest, so I'd start telling a story or something. Finally, well, 3rd rehearsal, this lady raised her hand, and I was like, yeah. And she's like, you talk too much. And I was just like, okay. And I was kind of like, oh, you know. And luckily, she was able to say to me, I can't decide what I have to remember of what you say or what's just fluff. And I thought, that's right, because those pathways are getting a little muddled. So when we're stretching or resting our voices, we have a wonderful accompanist, Ann Kubatowicz, who plays beautiful piano. And I close my mouth, mostly. Sometimes I have to be reminded. So we just have this wonderful connection. Could you go to the spring showcase at 2046? And the other great thing that happens in the choir is there's lots of laughing, but there's also often a lot of crying. And mostly just because it does conjure up these emotions, and as grown-ups, we're definitely taught that, you know, shields up, all's good, can't come in. But in this choir, shields are down, and we want you to share. So we did this.
Someday we'll find it, the rainbow comes.
That was our outside rehearsal. A little chilly. Okay, if you could stop, thank you. These videos, by the way, have been played by Wisconsin Choral Directors Association, and we've been able to send them worldwide. A couple of our songs have been on it's a worldwide like song fest, and it just plays and goes. So we're not this. Oh, you have memory loss. You're coming to our secure little circle. We'll keep you safe. We're like, oh, you have memory loss. You can still do a whole bunch of things that you have no idea you can do, and you can do them because we're with you. So again, who can be in the choir? Well, first of all, anyone who wants to be. But we love when people come with early stages of memory loss, mid to early stages. We love, because when people can come like that, we can start creating the pattern and the memories and all of those things to keep going. We love when people come with a caregiver who wants to sing with them. A lot of times we have spouses who come, and you don't necessarily have to be next to your spouse. You can, if it's the man might want to sing the low part and the lady sing the high part. We separate you, we find you a duet singing partner. We love when people come and you sing to strengthen their verbal skills. We have a few people in the choir who have aphasia, who are, kind of working through that. We have 2 people in the choir who have had strokes and are using music as a way to continue to increase their vocabulary again and their verbiage. And we have someone who has MS, who is, again, working through physical difficulty. That is such a moot point. Because first of all, who cares? So we have, for instance, we have our fall rehearsal schedule, which we're in right now. People are still welcome to join. If you could scroll down to the next one. Our spring concert is called We Stand Together. And as you can see right now, it's to be announced. Plan A is that we have a real choir concert with an audience. Plan B is that we have our choir together and we record it. Plan C is we have to do another virtual showcase. And we're just, again, in a weird time where we can't really tell. But then, after our fall concert, we have, and this is open to everyone, we have the Christmas Carol Sing-Along, which we do, we did it last year on Zoom, and we may do it Zoom again, or we may do it in person. We have a riot. We have trivia and prizes, and we just sing good old Christmas carols and holiday songs. And then our spring semester starts. And spring starts, we start that first Thursday of January. We go to the end of April. What's exciting this year is then in May, we're gonna sing at the Pablo Center. We're gonna open up for the Nordic Choir from Luther College. And then we're going to sing at Senior Americans Day at the university in June. So this is not a, shh, don't tell anybody we have a choir. This is like, hey, here we are. So that's what makes it very exciting. As you can see, we use props also. So again, I'm gonna say something I said right at the beginning. This choir, Standing Light Memory Choir, we're a community choir. Some people just happen to have memory loss in it. And honestly, I say to people when they're like, oh, what do you want where do you want this choir to go? I want it to grow. I want there to be a choir in Eau Claire, and I want there to be a choir in Menomonie, and a choir in Chippewa Falls. Because let's face it, the population is getting older, and more of us are gonna have memory loss issues. I mean, I seem to see it happening all the time in my mirror. Does anybody have any questions they'd like to ask about the choir? Or can you think of anything I forgot to say?
Could I share a story?
Yes, please do.
About my experience. The first concert I ever attended moved me to tears, and that was kind of what got me involved. But my profession, I was a speech language pathologist that worked with people with aphasia. And as Cathy said, music is amazing, but one of the choir members has an aphasia that's called primary progressive aphasia. And what that means, there is no stroke, but for some reason, this person gradually loses language. Got to the point where this person's only verbal language was a phrase. And the one I remember is, yeah, you betcha. So every response, that was, yeah, you betcha. This gentleman sang a solo at the concert. Every word was there. Now granted, he had rehearsed, but every word was there. That brought me to tears. That explained the power of music. So there's my story.
Yes, no, that's true. People often ask me the question, well, do you only sing songs they know? Does your choir only no? Because first of all, even in this group, we might not have that many songs that cross over. So yeah, we learn new songs. Do I teach music a little differently to this choir? Yes. Do I have to be very clear that I can't I have to know exactly where I'm going with this, because the minute I introduce a song, that's the way it's going to be. So very clear. But no, we learn new songs. As I mentioned, we had a song that was written specifically for us in our concert that's coming up in the fall. The song "We Stand Together" was written by a friend of mine from Osseo, who now is on Broadway. So, you know, my friend on Broadway. Yeah, we learn it because, again, your brain can still, even as memories are fading, we can keep filling you with more memories. Is this choir a cure? No, because it's not. But it can make a large difference in the quality of life that people are having. And that's probably our other big, our big thing. It's the quality of life. I am not a person who often settles for less than. I'm just not. Never have been. Sure, at 66, I never will be. It can make my husband a little crazy sometimes, because he's like, just let it go. Nope, can't, won't, not gonna do it. And that's how I feel about this choir. We're not something that's gonna stay in a box. We're gonna keep growing and keep moving and keep moving forward and helping everyone we can. So I think one of the best, I gave a presentation to the Rotary Club in Eau Claire, and Alan wrote back to me and thanking me, and then he's also a singer, by the way, who sings in a couple of choirs, and he says, "We are inspired about how the choir brings together people who are struggling with the insults of aging or disability without pity or excess sentiment. In fact, the choir enables them to contribute musical performance as peers with their mentors and community members." Yeah, we're out there. So that's kind of all I have to say. I mean, I could tell you so many stories, so many wonderful stories, but mostly I just want to share this. And if people are interested in coming to rehearsal in person, you do have to show COVID vaccinations at this point. And if you are interested in coming virtually, because right now we do in-person and hybrid, which again, that was about another 5 pounds of brain cells that I had to learn. My doctor did not buy the fact that the 30 pounds I gained was brain cells, but I am almost positive it was. I do have a form up here that you could sign up and give me your email address, and I'll send you a link to come on Thursday morning. But we welcome everybody to come and spread the word. If you'd like to take several brochures, we have brochures here that tell about the choir and kind of tell you how to contact us. We also have, because right before the quarantine, we got really awesome pencils to hand out at all of the places that we were gonna go, except that we couldn't go anywhere. So, so we have a whole bunch of awesome pens and pencils if you wanna come up and take one of those with you. And again, if you have any questions, you can always just email at standinthelightchoir@gmail.com, or you can just find me, czreitz@gmail.com, and I'll answer all your questions. So does anybody have any questions they'd like to ask now, or anything they'd like to share about how music has been a part of your journey? Or yeah, you guys gotta join the choir because you're way too quiet and you gotta be singing. But our theme song, Stand in the Light, I'd like to just play that as we finish up here. And I think it's on, so it's spring 2021 at 51. This is a song that we latched onto right away. Somebody gave it to me and said, oh, this is a great song. And you might even recognize it.
Tell me the time again.
52, 51. And it's how we got our name, Stand in the Light. And while we're getting there, I will tell you, when we realized our name's going to be Stand in the Light Memory Choir, the ADRC artist people who did, do their posters and stuff, came up with these themes, these logos. And they were all, and really sorry Jesus, but they were all like what I would call the Jesus light. So it was like a person standing there looking into the light, or like the light shining down on a person. And I had to say, ooh, that's not the light. This is the light. We are the light. We stand in the light. And that's the one family that was so awesome. Oh, Oregon, that's where Olivia was from. Okay. So that's, if you're interested in this choir too, it's all about your light. And even if you think we have a lot of people who come, there's one fellow who comes and they just love him to pieces. And he's always like, hey, Teach. We're like the same age. Hey, Teach, what are you gonna, he's never saying, what a great part for you in our choir, because he just loves it. So this is our theme song.
Didn't I tell you I hear what you say? Never look back as you're walking away. Carry the music, the memories, and keep them inside you.
I mentioned COVID vaccine requirements. You don't have to have a diagnosis to come to this choir. We never ask. That's not our business. And sometimes that's also a frightening thing. But again, as you can see, we have a lot of fun. We make good music. And I'd love to have you show up in Eau Claire, and who knows, maybe a choir here. So again, if you have any questions, you can let me know.
Or I can get you Cathy's contact information too, so.
Yeah, and it's on the brochure too, so. Thanks for letting me come and take part of this beautiful day. It's quite awesome. I really didn't know how long I was supposed to talk, so maybe I went past what I was supposed to.
Perfect.
Which, what a surprise that I kept talking. So again, thanks so much, and I hope I see you either in the audience at a concert or on stage with me. Thanks.